Hey everybody. So there's a lot of people that have contributed to like farming and fencing YouTube, so I thought I would add a little something of my own that I'm working on today. So we had this board down here that it was a 16-foot board. This is part of a 4-plank or board fence, or Kentucky 4-board fence is what I've seen people listed on YouTube for. And this was a 16-foot board that was broken, and we have a larger calf that we're getting ready to sell, and it figured out how to get through these holes, even though it's not very far off the ground there. Somehow it's figured out how to crawl through, and you can sort of see the footprint tracks where it's coming through. It's not super large, but large enough to be a problem. So that's one end of it, and then the other end of that board is there. So what I had done was I took off our face board here. Face board goes along like that, just like that one is. And basically what I did to get it out was I put the claw hammer in. I can show you what I'm getting ready to do. So put the claw hammer in there, and then I'm going to take my little 3-pound mallet here, this little guy, and just basically just drive him in, and then use my super sawzall here. It's got a 18 tooth per inch metal blade here, and this is actually the one that I'm not going to use for right now. I've got a longer one in my kit, and I'll basically be putting the blade in from the sides and cutting at these nails. I'm going to be taking all these nails out, but I'll be using that to make the wedge to get the reciprocating saw blade in there, and then I'm going to cut this guy free. And what that'll allow me to do is get to these nails to finish off them. I'm going to use an angle grinder to cut those flush, and then once I get that exposed, what I'll do is take this old 16 foot board that had basically broke at the end and cut it to size to fit, and we'll basically turn this 16-foot section into an 8-foot to make the repair and get it all good. And right here, basically I took the line for these 8-foots and just used the reciprocating saw with a wood blade, a shorter wood blade, so that way it didn't bounce around on me too much, and cut through there. Now a couple times it bounced out on me, and I just needed to feed it back in there and get it going. It was kind of a trick, but it's not too bad. And yeah, cut that, and then like I said, just need to cut those off and cut this guy to size. I'm going to use the chainsaw. Once I get the measurement, I'm going to use the chainsaw to cut it real quick and smooth. So yeah, quick little fix. And I forgot, the nails that we use in our 4-board fence are these spiral shank. These spiral shank nails right here. Sorry, trying to get the iPhone to focus. And those bad boys, I can't pull them out with a claw hammer. Somebody probably can. I'm an IT guy though, so I don't have all the strength that everybody else has yet. Working on it, but don't have it yet. So these little guys are definitely in there, and cutting them off is the easier task. So that's why I'm going through and cutting them instead of just using this claw hammer to pull it out. I'd break the board more than I'd do myself a favor. So yep, thanks. So yeah, so on these right here, you can see where I have cut them with the reciprocating saw here, and then these are all going to be angle grindered off using a 4.5-inch Milwaukee angle grinder. And then these right here, this is where reciprocating saw cuts were coming in, and cutting off these 3, cutting off these 3, and cutting off those 3. So yeah, I'll show you after that's done. All right, so that's what she looks like after all those are cut. That was pretty quick. Just trying to be rough with it, not trying to be super pretty, because it'll be covered up by the faceboard and everything. So there we go. So next thing I'll be doing is measuring this 16-footer down to 8-foot gap to place into here, and then I'll be nailing it up. So lined it up there, and then down here I just used my reciprocating saw to make a quick little chip right there in the wood, so I got my measurement. So now it's just to cut it with a chainsaw. I'm also going to clean up those nails, either pull them out or use angle grinder on them too. So you know, they say measure twice and probably mark and cut once. Well, with a chainsaw, you know, I didn't do such a great job here, but you might be wondering how I'm holding this in place to be able to do this as one person. So what I've done is I'm using a fence stretcher. Goldenrod makes them, probably something like a Goldenrod 405 is what this is. And basically this happens to be just tall enough to where it holds it pretty nicely and the bar doesn't get in the way. The bar is actually resting on the ground, and then I've just pulled the tension up just enough, and I had it to where that was in place over here, and then I just used my leg to hold the board in pressure, and then I put in one nail here, and what I used to put that nail in is this little nail holder. So basically you slot your nail in there, and see I've got a spiral shank nail in the tip here. Sorry, one person cameraman. And then where that end is, that's where the hammer hits it. And basically you don't have to worry about your fingers getting hit, and it keeps it nice and straight, and makes it to where newbies like me don't ruin a nail every time. Still got to finish it with several hits once you get it all the way down, but pretty nice. So now that I've got this one nail in, I can go to the other side, nail that one up in place, and then I can take the fence stretcher out and finish doing my nails and put my boards up. So that's how one person's able to do it. And this little tool right here is a ADP Prime Hammer. So it's a tool my dad had. All these tools are my dad's except for the chainsaw. And I guess the reciprocating saw blades, but otherwise, super Sawzall, an angle grinder. I don't think it's a fuel angle grinder, just a regular angle grinder. I don't particularly need that much power. It's just a 4.5-inch cutoff blade that makes the magic happen for cutting off the nails. And then the electric chainsaw just makes life easier. So a lot of tools that I shouldn't have the advantage of having, I have the advantage of having. So if you're doing all this by yourself, be nice to have all those. Apologies, this video is shot in a whole bunch of clips, but basically the little tool goes around your nail kind of like this, and then you hold down on it, and then as you hit this plunger in, the plunger comes down onto the head, and then all your potential energy is transferred through the plunger into the head of the nail and into the wood. So that's how you combine them together. Okay, so this is putting the faceboard back up. I've put one nail in, once again using these two tools, and then, oh, look at the star of the show. Fence post holder. Instead of having to be a three-legged thing, I've just got the board kind of balanced there to hold it at the base, so that way I could get the top right. And now what I'll end up doing, since it's just the slightest bit cockeyed, I'm gonna pull the bottom, I'm gonna pull the fence stretcher out and pull that back over, so that way it's in the middle. But for now, to get that first one in at the top, that did the job. So fence stretcher, Goldenrod 405. All right, so the last clip was definitely my first outtake. So I put the board on wrong. You saw all the cuts that I had made in it. So now I'm still using the same setup of the fence stretcher. What I was having trouble with was nailing in the bottom. I was trying to go in and nail the bottom as my second hit. So I had nailed in one, and then I was going to nail in two, but everything's wibble wobbly too much. So consulted with dear old dad, and he said any 2 points make a straight line. So you can take and do it on the second set on the post there, or on the third, whichever one works better. The bottom one probably won't, but I could take and nail in the second set there, and and do the job. And trying to make sure not to nail to any of the edges, because the closer you are to the edge, the more likely it is to split off. So yeah, still trying to nail in the center of the board. So just small little tips. So still, this little ADP Pro Hammer, super duper nice, makes everything easier. So all right, so there it is after the second hit, freely floating there. I'll just need to put in my other nails to do it. So I chose to put a nail in the center of this triple group, and then in the center of this triple group. Try not to do them in the same line as these, because you can see the wood after, this is probably a 4-year-old fence that hasn't been painted. You can see here the little gap that's already starting to form. So try not to make it in the same fiber. So I'll probably choose over here and probably up here for the next hits. So yeah, 3 per set.